discuss reproduction in plants. So we shall specifically look at reproduction in the flowering plants. Remember, we have non-flowering plants such as the fungi, which reproduce by means of spores. We have others like the coniferous plants that reproduce by means of cones. So here we restrict ourselves to the flowering plants. So let's look at how different flowering plants reproduce. Flowers attract most of us. Now, they are the most attractive parts of the plant. You already know that, and you know that flowers not only add beauty to the plant, but they are, however, the reproductive parts of the plant. Now, the male part of a flower is called the stamen, while the female reproductive part is called the scarpel, or simply the pistil. Now, some flowers have both male and female parts, and they are called bisexual flowers. For example, the pea plant in China rose, etc. We have others which have only either the male or the female parts and are called unisexual flowers. For example, the maize or cucumber plant. Now let's look at what parts make up the stamen and the scarpel. The stamen is made up of two parts, the anther and the filament. Now the anther produces pollen grains which contain the male reproductive cells. The scarpel, on the other hand, has three parts: the stigma at the top, the middle part is called the style, and the bottom one is called the ovary, which contains ovules that carry the female reproductive cells. Now, for fertilization to take place, the male and the female reproductive cells must fuse to form what we call a zygote. Now, in order for this to happen, pollination must take place. Pollination is the transfer of pollen grains from the anthers to the stigma. Now, it could be self-pollination if the pollen grains are transferred within the same flower or different flowers of the same plant. It could also be cross-pollination if the pollen grains are transferred within different flowers of different plants but of the same kind. Now, pollination could be made easier where agents of pollination exist, for example, wind, water, and animals. After pollination, the pollen grains germinate on the stigma, forming a pollen tube. The pollen tube grows inside the style and reaches what you call the ovary. Now, the male cell in the pollen grain moves inside the pollen tube and reaches the ovary, where it fuses with the female cell in the ovule, forming a zygote. This process of fusion is called fertilization. Now, the zygote develops into an embryo and becomes a seed. The ovary forms a fruit, while other parts wither and fall off, such as the sepals and the petals. Now, when the seed formed is planted under conditions necessary for germination, such as water, air, and warmth, then it grows into a seedling, and that's how flowering plants reproduce.